three major themes that we're looking at. The agri-tech, which of course is the first panel. We have the health tech and the fintech. These are the main ones. And of course we have another panel where we're going to have women start talking about, oh yeah, we're women, we can provide solutions to this problem. And by the way, I'm a woman evangelist in tech. I advocate for more women to get into the tech space. I'm a computing is my profession. I'm a software engineer. And over the years, while studying or while working, it was so obvious that there's not enough diversity in the tech space. And over time, known that women actually are great innovators. So that is what the Women Tech panel is all about, to see how we can innovate and we'll tackle problems that that we'll be talking about and all that. So without too much ado, I think we're going to welcome the panel for agricultural technology. So I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Okay, so I was going to call my panelists, but when.
Oh, sorry.
So welcome. So hosting this panel is a lovely hostess, Joyce Matthias. Round of applause for her. And Joe was going to be part of the panel, but he's gone off now. So it's left Eddie Downey to be in charge. Yeah? So all the questions we meant to ask them, we'll just ask them, shall we? Okay, and then Abiola Ofushe, she's the founder and CEO at Kiwi. And so we also have Mr. Olakole Ibikole, MD of a round of applause for himself. And then we have Chief Emeka Okoye. A round of applause for himself. So I can hand that over to you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be hosting this panel this morning. I'm not going to take much of your time. I will allow you to introduce yourself briefly, 1 minute each, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on the panel. My name is Abiola Ofuri. I am the founder of QV, and QV basically simplify the sourcing of African food and bev for global buyers and make it easy for them to connect directly with African producers from anywhere in the world.
My name is Eddie Downey. I'm a farmer from Strain County, which is about 35 minutes north of here. Dairy farmer and poultry farmer. I'm also the chairman of Fine Gael, which is the party in government at the moment in this country. And we hope after another election that we'll be still in government. But I'm chairman of the Agriculture and Rural and Food Forum within Fine Gael, the only party that has a forum of the same sort. Catherine Lynch is down there, who is the chairperson of the business committee within Fine Gael. So look, I'm also chair of the section of Joe Healy. I'm a former president of IFA. I've been a lifelong negotiator or activist on part of agriculture and rural people, and I believe strongly in it. Okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Olakunle Ibikunle. I'm a travel consultant. most importantly, a farmer as well. You may be wondering how come travel consultant and a farmer. I have my background education in agriculture, BSc, MSc in agri-economics, also an MBA in business management. I have been fully involved in farming business in Nigeria, and I've been consulting for people really that really want to invest in agriculture in Nigeria as well. So quite an experience in farming as well. And because of the discussion, you get to know more. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Emeka Okoye. I am a farmer, originally civil engineer, but turned farmer right now. I've come to grow a lot of passion in farming. I have a farm back home in Nigeria, and I'm on a mission to link Nigerian farmers to Irish and European farmers as well. So in the course of the discussion, probably we'll find out how maybe we can do that. Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me? Oh, fantastic. So my first question goes to Olakale. What investment opportunities? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What investment opportunities exist in Nigerian agri-tech sector for Irish investors and Nigerians?
Thank you for that question. There are vast opportunities really for the Irish farmers interested in the Nigerian market. Not only the farmers now, we're talking people, businessmen and women interested in doing business in Nigeria. Start with the latest opportunities that have come up with the Nigeria environment now. We all know what the government's roles are in developing the sector, and the latest being the transferring of the power, the autonomy of the local government. Now, it has changed now. Before it used to be from the federal to the state, now it's down to the grassroots now. Now, where do we come in now as Irish now? We talk about comparative advantage when you talk of business. When you look at the Irish farmers now, they have comparative advantage in the area of the dairy sector. When Joe was talking, we talk about the Irish dairy farmers really now. And I see that as a big opportunity that the Irish farmers can go into. We have there's sometimes really a challenge somewhere will become an opportunity for another person. We have problem with the animal farming in Nigeria now, which I think really if the Irish farmers will come and venture into. We have what we call the nomadic system of farming, and that's really moving of cattle from one place to another. That has been a big challenge. Now, I've been in Ireland for, I'll say about 22 years now. I live in Lusk. We have some farmers there as well, and I see how they're thriving, how they're doing very well. Now, with the dairy farmers now coming in now, the system of farming called the ranching system, which I think is being practically can be introduced there. The market is always there for everybody really now. Population of 230 million, that we still have to import chicken and beef, and with the good environment, the climate that we have, is a big opportunity. Technology now, when we go to dairy farm, now you see how milking is being done. That has not been fully utilized, really implemented in Nigeria now. It's a good opportunity for the Irish farmers to come into. The market is the dairy. We still import milk in Nigeria. Why would we be importing milk? The opportunities are there now. With the dairy farmers coming in, it's a big opportunity. Looking at the Ireland as well now, in terms of root crop, Ireland is very good in the root crop farming as well. With the technology being in place, really, I've seen so many potato farms around here. What we still practice in Nigeria, we say like, with the statistics given by Joe as well, which are funny, I was like, how did PP to my own record here. If we look at the number of people involved in farming in Nigeria compared to what we have here and what is being produced here, you see the advantage of technology. Technology is playing a big role. You don't need many people into farming at all. Few people with the tractor, with the machinery, come invest, the land is there. Acres of land are there right now. So it's a big opportunity now, bringing what you have here. One farmer alone can transform a whole state in Nigeria with what people they are doing here, and it's huge money. Getting their money, oh, the market is there, both local and international. You can still even, if you're not talking of exporting out of Nigeria, the consumers are there. So we come in with our technology and we invest in areas. Supports are there from the local government now with the latest development. So it's a big opportunity for the farmers to come in and invest in the market, and there will be no regret in it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Leader, I'm just wondering, what policy changes are needed to create a more conducive environment for agri-tech investments between Ireland and Nigeria? And can both governments foster bilateral agreements?
Well, everything that a government does or businesses do drive from policies. There has to be a conscious and deliberate policy on the side of Nigerian government to eyeball agriculture by way of literally what from along the entire value chain, from the planning stage to the farming stage to the post-harvest to packaging to export, if we want to do that. So there is a need for government. There's a need for government to put in place strategic policies to have this happen. For instance, if you want to export agri-food, agri-products from Nigeria, you need to have policies that around your facilities, infrastructure to be able to move the products. You need to have policies around the ports, the logistics. You need to have deliberate policies to be able to make this happen. You can't say you want to export products and you have at your ports, when goods come to your port, they stay 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and these are perishable items. That's going to work. So that's why you need to have deliberate policies. You need to have policies around training of farmers on how to produce the standard of food that must be produced for food consumption. You need to have regulations and policies around the style of production, the things that you need to put in place for the farmers to be able to produce these goods in such a way that you can actually export them, or even if it's for local consumption. So if we have a policy, for instance, in Nigeria saying that we want to grow, for instance, our cassava production from 1,000 metric tons to 1 million metric tons. What legal frameworks, what policy frameworks do we have to take our production from that 1,000 to 1 million? There have to be, you have to train the farmers, you have to get the right cassava stems to do that. You have to have the right input to do that. You have to have the right harvesting technology to do that. Those are the deliberate policies that need to be put in place. This is what governments all over the world do to be able to improve and achieve the targets that they have set out for themselves. So those are, our policies must be deliberate, they must be specific to what we want to achieve, to the objectives that we want to achieve. So those are the things that we need to, that we need to put in place, and we need to emulate from governments like countries like Ireland. They're currently doing a lot of that. Joe actually mentioned some of that. Even some of the bodies that they put together, which they belong to, help to mold these policies, because the policies have to be realistic. And for them to be realistic, you need practitioners in the field to be able to help mold these policies, so that when they are deployed, the policies would actually speak to the objectives that are being achieved.
Absolutely, well done. Thank you. So the next question is for you, Mr. Eddie. Ireland is known for its agricultural technological innovations. How can Nigeria tap into the expertise to develop its agricultural sector, smart farming, and sustainable practices?
Thanks. Look, first thing, the wheel was invented by somebody a long, long time ago, and when we look at the wheel, nobody can tell you who invented the wheel. We as a country have come from a very dark place. Well, not a very dark place. We were totally dependent on the UK market. That's where we produce food for, and that's where we put the food into. The EU came along as an entity, or we joined the EU. That changed the face of Ireland completely. The access to that big market has made such a huge difference. You already have that market. You already have those people. So it's how you manage that and how you get from there, from the position you're in now to that position, and develop it and go along with that. Technology, the way I mentioned that is, the technology is already there. We have done an awful lot of work on that. Things like genomics, things like EBI, these are the measurements of animals, of performance, plant breeding. We've done an awful lot of that sort of stuff. We have the technology to create and make that happen. Now, it has to be absolutely related to the product of the plants or the animals that you have in your own country. But it can be fast forward by using the technology that's been invented in other countries and bringing that to play in Nigeria as quickly as possible. You don't go back to redeveloping all of those, just use piggyback on what's already been there. Ireland has that in abundance. Joe talked about an awful lot about what's on farm on a daily basis. We actually have taken, and as he said, we take it completely for granted that we have systems that can steer a tractor down a field, that we have collars on cows to which you push a button in the milking parlour, and when you come out of that parlour afterwards, the cow is in a pen on her own, the one that has to be treated for whatever issue or whatever problem she has. That's because we have our aim, or what we're going to do, or what's going to happen. So it's not even our aim. What is going to happen in this country over the next 10 years is very simple. We're going to have less farmers. And I hear an awful lot of people that jump up and down and say we have enough young farmers in Irish agriculture. We actually have, because the speed at which technology is taken over, we can move, and so we will have less farmers. The other thing we will have is less emissions, dramatically less emissions. But we will have more food, we'll have more environmental benefits, and we will have more people in the country. And this country has to aim for, you're saying you're going to aim for 400 million people, potentially? Yes. Yeah, it will get there. It will get there if it keeps going. This country here has to aim for 10 million people. We don't have the vision here for that in our own at the moment, but that is where we're heading for. And we need to build infrastructure and everything associated with that. So what I would say to you, how do we benefit the technology that's here? I think you've got to get your structures right. You've got to get your, if I am to take an investment, I go to Nigeria and invest, I've got to be sure that that investment is secure, that I'm confident that the processes around that is protected, and that my money is secure if I'm investing within it. And you will need that type of investment to try and bring yourself to the next stage. But this is a rapid road you're on, because the technology is there, the information is there, it's getting it there and making it usable for the people on the ground, as you said already. So,
Thank you so much. Okay, the next question is for you. With the rapidly growing population in Nigeria of over 200 million people, how can entrepreneurs and scientists help in reaching the 2030 goal, the sustainable goal of zero hunger?
It is a significant number with the notion that we have a growing population of people, right? And with that, it means that there is a high demand on our consumption. And I think technology has come a long way and still has a long way to come, even in Nigeria. You know, a lot of the panelists have spoken about the impact of technology and how adopting it into the system kind of, optimize the best for the country, for Nigeria to be able to meet that goal, to eradicate poverty or reduce food shortage. It has to be we have to take conscious implementation and understanding of how to use those technology. So we can get excited about using technology, but do we know how to implement it in the right capacity, And I think that I was doing a bit of research, and I know that there's been a growing number of companies in the agri-tech. But it's very important, for me I believe it's very important to understand our pain point first and foremost. What is the issues? What are the things that are causing the food shortage? Because Nigeria does have the number, right? We do have the people, so what is disconnect? Identifying that. So technology is a tool that we can use into it. Scientists have come up with incredible amounts of solutions on how to kind of mitigate those problems. But we also as I guess Nigerians, as individuals, because it's a collaborative work. It's not just, if you think that it's just for the agri-tech, I think it's good, we will be doing ourselves a disservice. We all eat food, right? I'm sure everyone at some point today, you've taken something, you've drank something, you've eaten something. So think about it. How do you continually make this available if we keep consuming the way we are and not making solution to provide that we will short form? So as an entrepreneur, right, I can speak clearly on that, is that you look at the problem. What is causing the shortage? There's usually a thread that shows you what the issue is. How can I mitigate that? How can I create a solution? For myself, I noticed that, Nigeria has the capacity to produce, and we've been producing. But often the issue is that we are restricted by so many things. So I decided to look in how I can take our produce, how to not just within Nigeria, but around Nigeria and into the world, right? How can we for me as an entrepreneur, that was one of the solutions I was looking to mitigate. How to make our food not just available to ourselves, and also how to use technology, such as, there's been a lot of talk with precision farming, with Internet of Things, with smart apps. So there are technologies out there that entrepreneurs can, and I know that there's been a huge move toward fintech, a huge hunger, or I guess, should I call it, excitement toward other parts of technology. But I believe that agri-tech is quite sexy. It's quite innovative, it's quite impactful, because we're doing significant work. We are helping farmers to optimize their resources. We are helping farmers to utilize what they have, right? We are helping them to make a sustainable long-term goal on making food available. So there's so many work we can do. Scientists are doing, I can't speak too much about the scientists, but I did do a lot of research, a few bit of research, and I noticed that there is something called the vertical farming, and that can be incorporated into the urban area where maybe land is an issue. How can we utilize that? Because the information are out there, the technology are out there, but people have to start thinking about, what solution can I provide in my environment in Nigeria, not just what is everyone else doing. For every one of us, food is very essential. We cannot do without. So for us to kind of minimize it, it's going to be doing ourselves a disservice. We can think about that. Another thing I was thinking about is how we can, entrepreneurs can work with government to just kind of create solutions to provide training to farmers. that could provide solutions to the issues that farmers are facing in Nigeria. So that way, farmers are able to, I guess, meet those sort of issues that they're facing without feeling stranded. And again, encourage them to move from the traditional way of doing things to a more forward, technically advanced way of doing things. I believe that people want to change. People want to find solutions to their problem. But often maybe they don't know where to start with. So as entrepreneurs, you know, that is what we do. We find problems, we find pain points, we find issues, and we kind of address that issues by working with us. So I believe that our government can kind of encourage that. And I think it was said by someone that we can work alongside our farmers, our entrepreneurs, and see how can we meet the issues. I can list out, but if there's no desire to do anything, then it's pointless. You know, there has to be a need, there has to be a willingness, you know, to kind of address this issue, because it's a collaborative issue and a collective issue. If the food shortage do happen and we don't have a solution, every single one of us is going to struggle with it. So it is a joint effort by every single one. You know, we can look around and say, okay, what can I do differently? You know, how can I provide some information differently? And pulling in of data also. There is this, with the Internet of Things, there is the global awareness of what's happening. There's a provision or availability of data. Entrepreneurs and government and investors, you know, I don't want to just put it on entrepreneurs because they're just a limited amount of people, but it's a collaborative one, and I keep using that word collaborative because, you know, it is something that needs to work with alongside different group of people. We can utilize those available resources and kind of just find a way to mitigate those solutions so that I believe it's doable. I believe that definitely we can work towards that, but we have to be intentional, we have to be purposeful, you know, in how we find the problems so that we can provide adequate solutions. I don't know if I made myself clear.
Thank you so much. This is the last question, and this is general question for actually it's what are the risks associated with agricultural investments, including climate change, which is an enormous problem worldwide, and we all know that the people that are most affected by climate change are people in the developing world. So how can we, navigate through that? You know, the markets navigate and fluctuations and all of that. Anyone can contribute here.
As I hope I'll go first. I came across a company that uses AI to acquire information using the satellites to just figure out the issues that farmers are facing. And they were able to use that same technology to understand the climate changes that were happening. Now the risk to that is that if we do not invest in those, if not make ourselves involved in that solution, it will come upon us. You know, there are companies, so there's this company in Kenya somewhere where they are doing incredible work by gathering information and using that information to meet solutions that farmers are. So the farmers are using those solutions to find, to understand when they are supposed to be planting their harvest, when they're supposed to be planting their crops, so that they can maximize that information at that time. So if they know that, say, there is going to be a change in climate, and we know that the change is not in climate, it's not just restricted to Ireland, it's just all around, they were able to use that information to kind of work and produce and I guess get a better production on their farm. So the risk is not adopting technology, I would say. The risk is changing ourselves and saying, we'll just keep doing what we've been doing and hope that things will get better. We have to be proactive.
Trying to convince farmers, Irish farmers, that there's a climate change problem when we have the 4 seasons in every one day on a continuous basis, and I think you will experience that because I think your weather is reasonably predictable. Ours is, as you know, all over the place. But notwithstanding that, our guys, whether they're convinced there's a climate change problem or not, they're up there and they're doing something about it. And they will do something about it. They will reduce it. Our biggest problem is that agriculture is our biggest indigenous industry. And as for that, we then have to account for, we produce the largest amount of emissions, simply because of the size of agriculture versus industry and whatever else. We have no heavy industry. And agriculture then has to account for those emissions. We have a difficulty in that we take in oil and we have to account for the oil in this country and the emissions associated with the oil in the country, whereas we export food, but we still have to account for the emissions associated with that food production within this country. And that, for us, irks at farmers and irks at the system. That's a real challenge for a world where the population is rising on a continuous basis. And the problem that I see it is that when we have a relatively developed agriculture and we actually haven't reached anything like the amount of production that we actually can produce, and we can do that for environmentally friendly basis, you have a huge country with a huge potential to produce more. It's how you manage that going forward from here without damaging your environment. And that's a huge challenge. But the challenge associated with that is you have people who need to be fed. And we've got to get the world media back to the point that food security is a key element. There's little point in protecting the environment or maintaining the planet if people starve in the process. So managing the two of those is going to be so critically important as we go forward from here. And I think that's a challenge that we haven't laid down in front of the media, or we haven't seen from the environment. A real environmentalist is a farmer, in my view. We're the first and the original environmentalists. We're the ones who looked after the environment. The reason why the environment is where it is today, particularly in Ireland, is because of the farmers. Now, we've been driven by political decisions from Europe, etc., to do certain things and to move and move in certain directions. But to reverse those, to reduce the amount of food that's produced here, means that somebody else has to produce it somewhere else. That's not a sustainable way to do things if we are, as I said already, one of the most efficient dairy producers in the world. We can produce it with the lowest amount of emissions. So we need to manage that. I think the other part of your question was around finance. Was it not? No, that covers it. Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In addition to what has just been said by Eddie, what I will be adding really is that in terms of the climate, so much has been said about it. When you talk to a farmer, really, the farmer wants to listen that, do you want me to produce food without using my tractor? How do I produce food for everybody that will go around without using my tractor? I think what I can kind of provide here as an advice really is for the technology expert really is now, we need to have more machines that are environmental friendly. Most of the tractors that are being used, machines that are being used, are operated by maybe with the use of diesel and with the emission of carbon dioxide. In line with that now, we just need to look at the way so much is being invested in electric cars now. We need to look into that as well. When we produce on the farm, going to the market, we have to transport this to the market. How do you transport it now? Most of the vehicles that are being used are operated by diesel. So how do we go from using a diesel-operated vehicle to having environmental friendly vehicles? So basically, what we need to look at really for the investors now in technology, agriculture, how can we have machinery that are operated maybe with electric? That's all I have to say for now.
Okay. For climate change, the biggest problem that climate change poses for farmers is two extremes: extreme drought and flooding. Most of the farmers, more than 50% of the farmers in Nigeria, are smallholder farmers. What we need to do as a government to mitigate the effect of climate change on agriculture in Nigeria is data. To be able to get the data. If we're able to get the data from using technology or whatever kind of technology it is, then the second one will be the training. To train the farmers on how to use that data to produce their food. If it's been expected that there's going to be drought or that the rains are not going to come the normal times that the farmers already anticipate the rains to come. The rains are going to come earlier or later. That will help them to know when to plant what they need to plant. And if there's going to be flooding at certain periods, like we're having in Nigeria at certain points, so you have flooding and a lot of farms are completely washed away by the flooding, then it's this data that will help the farmers to know when to plant, what to plant. If you're going to have a harvest during September period when the flooding gets the ground gets so saturated and then the flooding just keeps washing away farms, then the farmers need to be trained on how to do this timing. That's the greatest effect that climate change has on farmers. I had an experience in my farm. An area that I mapped out to do my rice. All of a sudden, it was flooded completely, overtaken by flood. I couldn't do the rice anymore. The rice was being targeted for the Christmas period. It was a 3-month rice production, and I couldn't start it anymore. So those are the kind of things that climate change, the impact it has. And again, these smallholder farmers have a lot of cultural ways of doing their things. They need to be trained to embrace the new way of doing things and to use and to do their farming based on a lot of data that they can get, either data that will tell them about timing, or data that will tell them about the nature of the soil, or data that will tell them about the nature of what the weather is going to have for them in the next 2 months or 3 months. So again, that comes back to the policies. There is nothing any government can do, or any business or any company, if it is not defined by its policy. Your policy is like what you want to do, how you want to do it. It's like your guide. So for me, the climate change, that most of our practices in Africa do contribute less than 5% to climate change. So for me, we are on the downside of it, or the downstream side of it, or the effect that where we get the effect. So how do we ameliorate those effects? Where our farmers are, what they do, and what they plant, and how they plant it, and what timing, and all that. That's what I think we should be doing.
Thank you very much. Any question for the panelists?
Which do you prefer?
Hi, Katrina Sheridan, Nafasti. My question is just, I suppose, regarding Ireland's success in the agri-tech. The cooperative system has been a huge part of that. And I'm just wondering if someone from Nigeria can kind of comment around attempts to emulate that. My experience in Africa is I see so many people that are impacted. All of these are global commodities operating on the global markets. We're seeing massive fluctuations in valuations of currency, some initiated by government, some otherwise external factors. But could you comment a little bit around maybe the things that have been attempted that have failed, and possibly comment around the cooperative movement? Because ultimately, Nigeria is moving from a situation where there's a huge amount of small holdings, very subsistent type farming, and Ireland kind of really needed to move to kind of collective modalities to allow us to compete on the global stage, to create that kind of commonality around improvement in standards and practices. So if I'd like to hear from the Nigerian panel on that.
I can say something on that. We do have cooperative societies among the farmers in Nigeria, and the big challenge really still has to do with the finance, really financing their investment, getting access to funds, getting access to technology. And the policies are being put in place by the government, but the bottom line is really how many farmers are really benefiting in this. And this is where the private practice comes in now. Enough of dependence on government, on financing your farm or your family business. This is where I have become an evangelist, an advocate for private practicing business now in Burkina. With the new policy in the government now, with the autonomy given to the local government now, it's a huge opportunity for anybody now to go now with the cooperative society over there now. If you have maybe go to a local government, like the county, go to a county, you will go there and say, okay, fine, I want to invest in agriculture here in a particular crop or in a dairy. It's going to be easier now. I think it's looking better now, doing business now with the policies that are being put in place now. So what I'm just encouraging everybody here is, everybody here is that the opportunities are now there now. The cooperative societies are there now. If you invest in a cooperative society, like I have a friend really who's a kind of farm consultant in the northern part of Nigeria, and what it does really, like, we look for investors that want to take over a particular area, it could be like 100 hectares, and they have been doing very well. We have one that he did for poultry farming, getting the poultry farmers from that particular area. They fund it. Like, we look for investors that will fund that project, and they are doing very well. Where they need help again now is, okay, now with the technology now, the way they have been raising their poultry has to change. Technology we're talking about has to change. For the dairy farmers, the opportunities are there as well now. We'll be doing the nomadic system. We can get the cattle really on 10 hectares, 100 hectares. We raise them there. We produce meat, produce beef. The cooperative societies are there now, but we just need to tap into it now. But the bottom line is the finance now, getting the money to bring in the tractors, to bring in the machineries to get this thing done. And this is where we need private investors now. Thank you.
In addition to what my colleague just said, I believe strongly in sharing of knowledge. We do have a few cooperatives registered, some not registered, but my experience, and I belong to a few of them, my experience is that the knowledge base is still very shallow. And that was part of the question I asked Joe before he left. Is there any platform where Nigerian farmers and Irish farmers could interface, exchange ideas, talk to each other, even if no finance is coming out of there? The knowledge exchange that could come out of faith would lead to whatever finance it is. In my village, I did some agricultural training for the youths. I brought out 2 million naira and wanted to give them to 5 people 200,000 naira each. They didn't know what to do. So the money was there, but they didn't know what to do. Some of them said, just give us the money, let's share. So I completely align with what you're asking. And that's my mission. If I can begin to get some Nigerian farmers interface with Irish farmers share ideas, know each other, talk to each other, exchange whatever kind of knowledge, we can, then we would have started a big movement in a small way that would snowball into a large thing. That I think is where the point to start with. If you give people money and all the equipment and they don't have the right and appropriate knowledge to utilize them in the right way, we will still not get the result. And that's why yesterday night when I was talking, I said that the world, there's one of the biggest problems in the world today is food insecurity. Africa can become the farm of the entire world, just like China became the factory of the entire world. Now it needs a couple of things to be put in place, some policies, some training, some knowledge exchange, before those kind of things will happen. So I really align with what you're asking.
Any more questions?
Hey.
Thanks again for the great conversation. I have a question that is a follow-up on the core issue here we're talking about is how to think about Africa for first-time principles and how we think about financial instruments. We mentioned the currency fluctuations, but farming is very tied as well to financial instruments. So we have to think about new financial instruments to empower Africa. With that in mind, I just want to ask you a question, Chief Mecca. So when the drought came, right, and you couldn't plant more rice, what happened?
Because my target was the Christmas season and it was a 4-month species of rice, I lost 1 month, so I didn't plant again. So I now switched over to another product, which we are planting on that particular parcel of land right now.
Exactly, but that's my point. When I went first on excursions in Africa, people said to me, because I studied deep finance and I went into understanding what's the problem with Africa and financial instruments in Africa. And one of it is risk management, right? Most farmers can afford insurance and they don't understand insurance, right? If you had the insurance mechanism that was affordable, you'd be able to continue planting the crop you're specialist in, and you wouldn't need to change your crop, for example, right? And these are the issues that I think we have to really try to address, and like how do we build financial instruments that could actually be affordable for farmers and other areas of the economy in Africa, so we can actually risk transfer and we can take more risk. Ireland has a very good base of financial services that build the economy, so Ireland can take more risk. Right? If you can take more risk, then prosper. And I hope that we start having those conversations and sharing the knowledge you mentioned of how we got there, because Ireland is an incredible business case from an economy that came from poverty, and now is one of the leading economies in the world, but also an economy to be able to tap into their people and their knowledge globally, right? But that was just an example I want to highlight, because there's ways that we can actually start thinking about Africa from a first-time principles perspective.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of the entire spectrum of faith. What you said is very, very correct. Again, because if the policy is right, then even the financial sector would prepare products that are specific to agriculture. You may be surprised that those kind of insurances are not there because no insurance company wants to take any risk on an agri farm. But that's because the government's policies have not been deliberately focused on agriculture. When that happens, then you begin to see different kinds of investments, different kinds of, in all the both from the finance sector and all other sectors that will now make the agri space to blossom. Also you're very correct. I don't know if
Can I add to that, please? Like I said, with my background in agriculture, we have the Nigeria Agri Insurance Corporation, and the problem, as I highlighted again, is awareness among the farmers. For most big-time farmers, and I use the word big-time farmers now, commercial farmers now, most of them do have insurance. most of them do have. But for the subsistence farmers, small-scale farmers, it's a big challenge, and they form the larger places. So now for a farmer that is going to produce crops that is going to give him, let's say, I use euro now, 10,000 euro, and paying a premium for that is a big challenge. Paying a premium, the insurance company may come in and say, no, the premium you have to pay is 500 euro. A farmer, a typical local farmer will be like, if I should put that 500 euro premium into my investment, and I make this so much, why would I give it to somebody that will not give me anything if I don't produce? Now, the farmer will not be looking at if I make any loss. So awareness is just like some of us as well. Like some people don't take insurance for their cars, don't want to take insurance. I'm sure, sorry to say this now, some of us that have properties back home in Nigeria now, how many of us have building insurance? So it's just awareness so that, okay, now, like Chief already said earlier, he planted the flood kill. I'm sure Eddie here, you will tell us really now, what's the question now? Like if there's a loss on the farm, what does the government do to reduce the impact?
Sorry, I'm asking. So we're actually actively looking at this area at the moment. We're looking at, we have volatility in prices, and we're looking for some means by which we can smooth out that process, the volatility. Crop insurance is what you're really talking about there. We don't have that, but what we had and have had is the supports from Europe, which were a payment per hectare, which protected, give you a guaranteed income up to that point.
Due to time, we can only just take one question now, please.
I wanted to always have questions. I'm very okay here. I don't know whether it's about policies really. We have the policies. I think it's more about implementation. But I agree with you about awareness. But here I am. I came in from Nigeria. I want to learn from Ireland how to improve agriculture, farming in Nigeria. What should I go back with? And how are people like you in Ireland going to work with us back home to improve agriculture? Because it's a shame that it's the biggest thing we have, but we're not making use of it. But this administration is determined to ensure that we make more money from agriculture, particularly export. So just from you, Mr. Eli, and maybe from anybody in the panel, what do I go back with? If I'm going to advise government, do two things to revolutionize agriculture. So he has a question.
Most of that things they take home, what I will take him home. Because I am speaking on the part of government, I'm not speaking for the federal government. I know that a lot of things have been in place, to make sure that policies that are already and are working, and then to encourage more people coming to agriculture. So what is more important to us here is what we are taking home, just like Shirley listed, so that we can tell our people this is what we learned in the conference, and if we do this, this is going to be the outcome. Thank you.
All right, before you enter that, because I was going to do a proper introduction afterwards, just so for the rest of the room, the special guest who just asked that question, she is the CEO and chairman of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission in Nigeria. So she's also a government official. So she's more looking after the people in diaspora. So it's very key how we answer that question, because she's going to take that on board as well. And beside her is, her name is Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa. And beside herself is the special advisor to the governor of Delta State, Tony Amechi, special advisor on investment. So you see, we got you covered. Okay, so it also, would be key in how we address the questions. Thank you.
That really helps with the answer. Look at what would I take home? What would I? All we can say is what's happened in Ireland, where we see what has made the difference over the last number of years. I would go back to the co-ops, the cooperative structure, the process associated with that. I was in Kenya for 2 weeks. We looked at the agriculture there and the development of a couple of co-ops, small co-ops that have been set up there. And they were the nucleus. You have to start small and you work your way up through that process. But there's several questions you've prompted. One is, that whole area of getting information back down to farmers and developing technology in that process. When you've got that done, you have to solve your financial problems and those associated with that, and security of money in the process. Here, our co-ops are now moving into the space, because they've got to a certain stage, where they're now putting financial packages together for their farmers. And it's secured by the produce that the farmer sends to the co-op. Now, it's a way of getting around the banking system, and it's keeping the money that's within the food industry there together within it. You have to remember, you have a lot of advantages. We have to export everything we produce. You have that demand at home for that. Getting a decent price for it is almost impossible to get. And the other thing is that a happy farmer is the first. I'd like to meet the first one, because no matter where you are, or no matter what part of the world you go to, it's difficult to be happy given the volatility that's in the system. You won't iron out that volatility. And if you think you're going to find a way that will do that, don't even try. The best way I can see it, the best thing that has worked for us is the cooperative structure. But I will say there are other structures within the system, and you mentioned the poultry industry and how you're developing that through a cooperative structure. Here, and I'm part of the poultry industry here, we have an integrated system where we have an integrator at the top, and right down through the system. It's fully integrated, fully planned, fully operational, and people build a poultry house and you work on a margin within that, and it depends on how efficient you are in the process of doing that you get your margin. That system is another system that can work. That's private enterprise. Now, it could be built on the same cooperative structure to do that. But if you were to take over from here, I would drive that cooperative sector as hard as I possibly could. I would build in financial instruments within that can fund that, with security of that finance for the farmer and the co-op in building its industry. And I'd be ambitious in it, because I think you have a massive opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, finally, sorry we have taken time. Are the Irish farmers willing to invest in Nigeria, either on a build or put an own system, or on a PPP basis? Are they willing to come and invest in Nigeria?
Irish farmers will invest in anything that they can see a margin. And I think that applies to every business person that's out there. Irish farming has moved from a position of being farming to business rapidly. And that's why I say we need less farmers, and we will need less farmers as we go forward from here. Getting them to invest would all be about security. Security in the finance, security in the investment and placed there. If you can find ways that can be done, the cooperative sector, it's different groups. There are ways of finding that finance, but it's the security, both politically and financially. That's the difficulty.
So, in other words, putting the right atmosphere in place, you're ready to come. Putting all of these things in place, you'll come.
Yeah, if you can build yes, but there's loads of people ready to go to invest. The difficulty is picking the right people, and those that won't rip off the system and the process is the difficulty. Private enterprise and different groups coming in from different areas could do major damage. From here, where we see, and we look at the world, we see the rapid expansion of China, and we see the rapid movement of China into different countries and different places to secure food for the Chinese people. We see that while it may be necessary, there's a risk to the indigenous people in each of those areas when they do that. It's about bringing those people on board, and that's the cooperative thing. The cooperative structure is the one structure that will protect the farmers and the indigenous people in the process. You've got to be very, to my mind, now I would be very careful with that.
Sorry, can I answer that, please? This goes to answer your question. Thanks to Honorable Abike for what she mentioned yesterday about the diaspora investment. As a trust fund, you would have something you mentioned yesterday. Yes, looking for Irish farmers or Irish investors. The Nigerians in diaspora, they are ready to invest in the economy as well, given the right environment. Like it was mentioned yesterday, millions of billions of dollars being transferred home every year. Like if with the investment trust that is being put in place now by the CEO and Diaspora Commission, we can look into that as well. you send money on, like if I send 100 euro, it's something at home. If I send it to a farmer through the cooperative society, I'm going to get a good return. It's good we are looking for others to invest. We can invest in the system as well. We just need the right environment as well. So please, I've really so much applauded what the Honorable Abike said yesterday about the diaspora investment. It's something that we can work on. The investors are the people who are ready to put money in business. We don't need to look far enough. The money is there. Thank you.
Okay, let me quickly help you. I think it's important for us to also speak in terms like this. People keep saying the right environment, the right environment. I'm not a politician. It's important you understand that. I'm a technocrat in government. Okay. What you need to understand, there are two kinds of investors. Those investors that are willing to come in, through the front door, and those who want to cut corners through the back door. And that's why we see a lot of people fail with their investments in Nigeria. When you do the right thing, your investment is going to grow. I'm going to speak for myself. When I became advisor on investment, one of the first things I did in Delta State was to insist on the need for us to do a retreat, where we spoke on realistic reforms about the state. We also looked at the ease of doing business and then created the Ease of Doing Business Council. That when you're coming to invest in Delta State, you're seeing exactly what you're coming for. You know what the laws are and everything and how you intend to go. So when you come to the right channel, I can tell you one thing for free, that your investment is going to grow. In Delta State today, for instance, we have arable lands. And so far so good, we've given out over 16,000 hectares of land to farmers that came from different areas to come and invest. So we can say that in the shortest possible time, we can guarantee food security in Delta State. Remember that part of the reasons why crime grows is when you are unable to guarantee employment for your people. When they are idle, then you can expect crime to grow. But when you engage them, we have this approach. When you see something, you say something. And then we can tackle it head on. And that's why if you listen very carefully for instance in Delta State, you're not going to be hearing, you have this headers clash and all of that. That has been mitigated because we are on top of our game. So what I'm saying in essence is that I'm encouraging our brothers and sisters in the diaspora to come and invest and then come to the right channel and your business will be protected. But when you keep on cutting corners, going to one person because you know that person, you will end up having challenges. And that's why a lot of people fail with their money and then the next thing you hear is that, I was defrauded, this happened. Because you've not done the right thing. I don't think there's any investor that came through the right channel that will say, my money disappeared. No, it's not possible. So I'm going to encourage those of you to come in and to tell us, we are ready to support you. We are ready to guide you and make sure that whatever you come in with is protected. Thank you.
As a takeaway, finally, thank you so much. The two honorables asked what they would take home. To practicalize that, if it is possible for the organizers of this conference to put a team right now together that will begin to discuss how to bring the two countries together. That would be a practical way to end this stuff. A team, people like the gentleman here and Joe, people that are practicing, that are farmers here, and then people, maybe also farmers in Nigeria, that will now put together a model or a template that they will too be part of it. They will be communicated. They will be in loop and see how the ideas coming out from here could then be practicalized. That would be a very good way to go.
Absolutely, that's the purpose of the conference, for us to get something to take home. And one thing in particular that I can take from this panel, I've started thinking of that technology that we can use to actually bring both countries together, both farmers together. you know. So that's the missing piece, to learn from each other. At least that could be something to start with. How are they doing it here? How can we change? They could also learn from us. I believe that's one thing I can take from here, the technological aspect of it. To build a platform where we can all talk together. One last question?
Yes, probably a question or maybe a suggestion. I think I will be talking to Mr. Ibikunle, is that you? Okay. I believe you're a consultant, correct? So I was thinking maybe if there's a way you could put a performer together, maybe for a specific market or a specific region that can be available in the diaspora site or something, so people can say, oh, if you invest this is likely the range of what you can get. Just some kind of a package so that people can see numbers, how people can work with us. Thank you.
Yeah, I think everybody already said really the purpose of this. And so, if Rob is there,
Okay.
we're ready to work together.
Thank you so much for participating in this panel. Thank you, and that's it. We're done for.